Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo está? That is the extent of the Spanish I know, but welcome. This is Aaron Live, last second live stream, lunch with Aaron. Well, it's still lunchtime for a few more minutes. I came in a little bit early because StreamYard only allows you to schedule 15 minutes in advance, and I didn't want to wait 15 minutes. I wanted to go now. So I scheduled it so it would allow me to schedule it. Then I just jumped the gun and came in early because that's what I do. But I still have some of these Bavarian beef sticks from last night's show. So this will suffice as my lunch for today, at least during this live stream. So I got so much stuff to draw. It's amazing. I just talked to my printer and okayed the correction that was made on the last page of Wraith of God that needs to be reprinted. So hopefully that's going like right to press. And we'll get these suckers bound, and I should have them shortly. And then I can mail them out to you. Awesomeness. And in case you're interested, you can still back Wraith of God. There's a link in the description of this video that'll take you right there and show you all the possibilities of what you could possibly order. And I feel a sneeze coming on, so I'm trying to hold it right now, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. Well, maybe I did successfully hold it. Let's take a quick look and see who's here. You notice I'm wearing all red today. I don't even know what that means, but it means I'm a Nebraska football fan. It means that, but other than that, don't read too much into it. Killer Squid is here. He says, "Hey, Aaron, and what?" I guess we're about to find out. Past Master Dan is saying something soft. I assume that he means I'm eating for lunch because I'm old. Yeah, maybe a parboiled egg. I'm sure he means hard-boiled egg and some crackers. Well, maybe this will soften you up a little bit, Past Master Dan. Look at that. Stad Zero is working on pages and cards today himself. So what happens in a lot of these live streams, or especially these draw streams, is other artists will tune in and say, "Hey, let's create this online studio thing and just we'll all draw together." It's fine with me. The more the merrier. That's what I say. Tea is nice, if you say so. JP Roca is here. What's good? These Bavarian meat sticks are, well, they're good enough. Let me put it that way. The Beam Pad has returned. He was here last night, and here he is again. Thank you for joining us again. Tarks9 is here. Can't sell a commission to save my life. Any suggestions? Maybe blame Joe Biden. I don't know. You know, some people say, well, adjust your prices, lower your prices, whatever. But I think to get to a certain point where if you lower your prices too much, you're not showing that you have any respect for your artwork. So it's a difficult thing. I do have a list of commissions that I need to get to myself, but you know, they trickle in, and I think it's seasonal. And I don't know, post pictures, post just your very best stuff, you know, when you're advertising for commissions, the type of stuff that you think would interest the most people. I mean, and these are obvious suggestions, but you know, whether you got commissions or not, just keep producing stuff and putting it up on social media, and you know, hopefully enough of it eventually gets seen, and someone says, "Hey, I want one of those." So I used to do drawings, commissions that people didn't commission me to do, but I just did them for recreation. But I would always do stuff that I thought would sell, like Scarlet Witch, or you know, Rogue or something like that, that people are going to buy, and then I would throw it up there and on eBay, and you get some bids. Sometimes it did really well, sometimes not so well, but so whenever you're drawing just recreationally, draw stuff that you figure you might be able to turn into a sale at some point. Leg kick. I'll be seeing you Saturday afternoon, Aaron. Oh my gosh. I'll be able to put a face to the leg kick man who's almost always here. Citizen Ronan is here. Bill Maxwell's here. Aaron Louviere is here. I know. I'm just quit eating on stream, Aaron. Never. Flying Saucer says Wolverine. There you go. Well, yeah. But I've had Wolverine pieces I've done that haven't sold, and I've had ones that have sold. So it depends on the energy you put into it and the pose and all that kind of stuff. Jiminy Cricket's here. He's calling me out in capitals, saying, "Hey, Aaron," with a smiley face. Hey, Jiminy, thanks for joining me. What am I doing today? Well, I did preview some artwork. Okay, let's take a look at it. Last night. I don't have any water. I think that's going to be a major mistake on my part. Anyway, so I previewed this card that's going to go with, there it is, with the next campaign, and it's MERV the ASTRO-CHIMP, who is Kit Carter's partner. And the only way you'll really get this card is if you sign up early for the next campaign. And of course, you have to order as well. You can't just sign up. Some of you probably saw this, which is the page to Garbage Man #1. Let me try that again. First page to the new Garbage Man story. That's the backup story, one of the two backup stories that come with the next Wraith of God project called Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which we will be launching that campaign after fulfillment of the Wraith of God graphic novel, which we're anxiously awaiting return from the printer. But anyway, so I was working on that yesterday, but I've got this, and I thought, I'm going to ink that. And so I thought, why not do it live? Why waste good material for a live stream? Right? So here I am live streaming it. So I'm going to take a circle template here and do his bubble helmet before I want to do bigger. I don't want to do that big, though. That's kind of big. But that's kind of small. Make sure I get, well, if I do it like that, I think that's probably all right. We'll go sort of like something like that. Let's see what happens. Sure, I may regret it, but there we go. Now, it's the only thing I will be using a circle template for, I can tell you that. All right, I got to get all my drawing pencils out of the way, and we'll get to the inking pens. I'm going to be using just microns for this. That's an 8. I'm going to go smaller than that because I'm going to do his face first because that's probably the most interesting thing. So I would use a 1 or a 0.01 or a 0.03. Let's start with an 0.3 and see what happens. If I find it to be too, let me adjust this. Okay, don't everybody throw up. Okay. And just sort of random, if you happen to be watching this on Facebook, well, you probably already Facebook friend of mine, but I know there's people that, if you're watching this on YouTube and saying, why won't Aaron friend me on Facebook? Well, it's because I'm maxed out with friends. And so I have to wait for people to drop me before I can add somebody. And, people drop me pretty regularly. But it's usually like, a couple people a week. So then I add a couple people, and So there's, I do apologize if you're trying to get in on my Facebook action and I just don't have any room for you. That's why there's Aaron Lopresti art as well as the my regular page. Excuse me. So that people that can't get a friend request to, because I'm maxed out, can see pretty much everything I'm posting on my regular page on the Aaron Lopresti art page. So that's a decent alternative. If I can't get you in right away on my Facebook friends. Now I will be coloring this as well. Because I have this, you know, this philosophy. It's like, why pay someone to do something you can do yourself? So there you have it. I don't know if it's a great philosophy, but it is a philosophy nonetheless. Let me check the chat quickly here. Oh, Mr. Monkey Boy, 1969 is chimp. Speaking my language. Love the Kit Carter poster. Would love to have an 11x17 print. You know, I used to have 11x17 prints of those and I ran out. So I have to get some more made up. I just, you know, it's like I've been so out of the convention mode for so long because of, you know, the ridiculous COVID shutdowns that I haven't really been concerned about producing new prints and things like that. But now the convention circuit is striking back up, shall we say. I kind of feel like I need to produce some more prints. And so I'll get on that. Indeed, I do. It is a Cairo razor or something like that. But way better than the one I used to have that was never sharp. Citizen Roman says, chimps are horrible creatures. Gorillas are where it's at. Well, you know, they always used to have this philosophy back in the day. I remember it was a big thing at DC that, you know, if you put a gorilla on the cover, it'll increase sales of the book by, you know, certain many thousands of copies. So that would, you'd always find they'd have like Gorilla Month or something. And I'm talking like in the 60s and 70s, not like recently where it's, you know, become kind of a joke where they would do Gorilla Month or whatever. But it was a thing. They did do some sort of weird study that proved that having a gorilla on your cover would help sell the book. So you'd often find DC comics that would feature some sort of gorilla menace. I don't think Marvel ever really did that. They had a few monkey characters like the Red Ghost. Excuse me. See, I knew I'd regret not having any water handy when I did this. Yeah, like the Red Ghost had like his 3 monkeys or gorillas or apes, I guess, because it was an orangutan, and I don't know exactly all he had. It was part of his team of bad guys. Good old Red Ghost. He was a communist with a bunch of monkeys. I can't think of anything worse, really, than a communist with a bunch of monkeys. Oh, the good old days of comics, huh? You know, I used to be just an exclusive brush inker, and I just, you know, I got to a point where I realized, you know, what am I trying to prove anyway? Because a brush it takes twice as long because you have to really be careful and not do it too quickly because your stuff will look sloppy. And it also makes your style look a bit antiquated, which my style already does anyway. So I started thinking, you know, maybe I need to get away from the brush and go with a pen, do some different things to liven up my my line style. So that's what I've done. And I find it to be easier because, especially with these pens, you don't really get any line variations by how hard you push or how light you push. You have to kind of go back over the line to thicken it if you want, which is, you know, kind of a pain. But at the same time, I think where I can save time and it goes a little bit faster for me using these pens overall, that I can, you know, afford if I have to go back like right here and thicken that right there to create a line weight. It's really not that much of a hassle, and it really doesn't slow down the process that much that would justify me going back to my brush days. Especially when you're doing everything yourself. You want to be as efficient as you possibly can. And as I discussed last night, I do kind of like to be able to add a bit of a, you know, chunkiness, a rough spot, like right there. Give the work some, you know, some, instead of everything being soft, smooth, and round all the time, make it kind of angular and give it a little bit more energy. But as I stated, this card will be available to early sign up people for Wraith of God Blood Hunters. And this would be the only MERV the ASTRO-CHIMP card that I will make. So if you want to get a MERV the ASTRO-CHIMP card, you're going to have to sign up early. And then you're going to have to order too. Oh, the pressure. But I think, you know, incentivizing stuff with free stuff. Incentivizing, holy crap, can I talk? Incentivizing campaigns with free stuff is never a bad thing, especially when it's trading cards, because trading cards themselves are collectible and fun. Actually, what I really want to do is I'm going to go back and do a bunch of Universal Monster cards, like those black and white ones that had like the funny word balloons in them, except they weren't really all that funny. They were kind of corny, but actually do make them funny. Of course, getting the rights to do Universal Monster cards would be a challenge for sure. Let's see, other people have jumped in at this point. Stephen Rockwood is here. Stephen Rockwood drawing right there. Stephen Rockwood, comma, drawing. Is that who he is or what he's doing? Bill Wist is here. Love these demos, Aaron. Well, thanks, Bill, for dropping in to check it out. Angela Curry is here. Hi, Aaron. Hey there, Chet. Thanks for joining us. No, there's no sign up yet. I'll announce that. I want to, once the books get back from the printer, the Wraith of God, which should hopefully, please, Lord, will be in 2 weeks or less instead of 2 weeks or more. And once I get those books in hand and start fulfilling, I'm going to put up the sign up page for the next campaign. And then when all the books, so it'll be up for a month or so. And then when all the books are shipped out, the Wraith of Gods are shipped out, then I'm going to go live with the next campaign, which will be Wraith of God Blood Hunters, featuring, of course, a Garbage Man backup story, a nightclub backup story, and if we reach certain stretch goals, we'll get some Kit Carter in there as well. So it'll be a big, thick book if everything goes according to plan. Randy Howell's here, joining us from Canada. Hard to drink a beer with a helmet on. You know, it is. And that is kind of the dilemma for MERV. But he does most of his beer drinking in the spaceship where he has his helmet off. But I thought, I got to have him with a can of space beer kind of flowing out in space here with the bubbles. Even though he practically can't really drink it while he's out in space. And the background, of course, will be space. I may throw their ship in the background here. I just might. Just might. Brian Suddenly Old sounds awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Frozen beer. But again, this is the world of comics. And in my universe, I make up the laws. So he can have a beer in space. Because actually, this is Kit Carter's a comedy strip. It's not really I mean, I was going to say it is an adventure strip, but it's really a comedy strip. And it's very irreverent. It's not like a romantic comedy. It's more of like a Mel Brooks kind of nonsensical thing. So I can have him do whatever I want and feel good about it, quite frankly. I got to remember how his suit goes. That would be kind of embarrassing if I didn't do it right. It's been a while since I've worked on any Kit Carter stuff. The thing is, most of you probably don't know is that several years ago, I started doing Kit Carter as those of you who remember newspaper comics, as kind of a Sunday strip, if you will. Except I did it comic book page format. In other words, they weren't the strips were not laid out to fit into a newspaper. They were laid out basically to fit onto a comic book page, so that if I ever reproduced them, they would fit into a comic book format. And so I did 5 or 6 of these full color, and you had to buy a limited edition Kit Carter print to get access to these online comic strips, or as I called them, episodes. So each page was a Kit Carter episode. So I think I did 6 of them in color. And then I did, I want to say 2 more that are in black and white. And they're actually on the posted on my blog page on my website for free. You can just go and check them out anytime you want. But the first 6 you couldn't see unless you got this print. Well, if we hit the stretch goal in the next campaign, I'm going to re-release these Kit Carter strips be the first time in printed form. They were available, of course, in digital form. And so I have 8 of them done, 6 in color, and then 2 in black and white. And the 2 other in black and white, like I said, you can see on my blog page. Anytime you feel the need to go over there and check it out, you can. And each little one-page strip, or as I call them, episode, was a self-contained little, you know, story with the joke at the end, but they were part of a bigger continuity, right? So basically just like a newspaper strip would be. And anyway, the particular adventure that she's on in these strips is she's facing her nemesis, Zing the Zealous, not to be confused with Ming the Merciless, of course. And so as a stretch goal incentive, I'm going to reprint or print for the first time. They haven't, you know, they've only been digitally released. This Zing the Zealous storyline, and it's not finished. There's, like I said, there's 8 of them done. I think it's going to be between 13 and 15 of them to complete that particular arc. And so the stretch goal will be that that will be reproducing these ones that are already done, but also having, you know, 5 to 7 new ones that I will do. And that'll give everybody a taste of Kit Carter that everybody seems to want, or at least they tell me they do. The problem I have with doing a Kit Carter solo book is that it doesn't fit in to my bigger picture Loprestiverse plans, because again, it's a humor book and it doesn't really work with the other stuff that I'm doing. Like, you couldn't have a Kit Carter Wraith of God crossover. Right? It would just be ridiculous. So I've kind of been reluctant to do Kit Carter stuff because it doesn't really fit my long-term plans. But I do understand that there is a lot of interest in the character. So I might have to, after this next Wraith of God project, I may have to just do a Kit Carter book, kind of get that out of the way, and then get back to my Loprestiverse plans. Or I could do something like Kit Carter Adventure Magazine, where I'd have a Kit Carter story and then, you know, have some other features from the Loprestiverse backing up that story. So there's ways I could do it, I guess, to get it out there. And like I said, the first step is going to be realizing the stretch goal and getting these extra Kit Carter pieces or story pages in the next project. I'm always thinking, always planning my next big move. And it's funny, in my younger days, I used to do a lot of planning and very little executing. Now I'm actually executing the plans, which, you know, it's like next level fun. And there's nothing quite as good as next level fun. Let's see. Randy saying, MERV is smart. The can is pressurized. Once you pop the top, you can travel where you want. That's exactly it. Randy's on top of it. He gets it. Exactly. It's space beer. It's made for space, so why not? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah, there you go. Stat Zero, he's a comic strip guy. He knows the pitfalls. I really did traditionally, just out of traditional sentiment, I guess, I wanted to do make it look like an old, newspaper strip. But it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell, and it's hard to package. Because there's always a certain number of us in the crowd, right? That are like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Do it like an old newspaper and I'll buy it and blah, blah, blah. And that's true. But usually there's not enough of us that would buy those things that make it worthwhile, because I hate to say this, but size does matter. And what I mean by that is not what you get your mind out of the gutter, not what you have to be able to put a book together that fits what people are used to or have storage for, right? So we know that there's bags and boards out there that are comic book sized, right? There's also magazine size one, but they're not as prevalent as the standard comic book size. And then you've got people with comic book boxes. That's how they store their collections now. Not everybody, but 90% of the people do, right? So you give them a book that doesn't fit into a bag or board and doesn't fit into an existing storage place that they have, they might reject it. And just out of convenience. So you have to take that kind of stuff into consideration. And as desperately, and I mean desperately, because I would like to do a treasury-sized book, the reality of that is shipping would be an absolute freaking nightmare. And the only place you could sell it would be at shows live. And then let people buy it and then worry about how they're going to get it home themselves instead of you have to worry about it. However, it's one of those things that everybody would say, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But how many people would actually plunk down the money to get it? Because that would be expensive to produce. They're usually, those treasury editions are pretty good sized in length, as well as, the size of the pages themselves. And so it'd be really expensive. And, is it worth it to take a risk on something like that just for the personal cool factor? You've got to, unfortunately, look at this stuff from a business perspective and say, well, is this actually going to sell? Or is it just going to be something that I can sit on and go, this is so cool, I printed my own treasury edition. And honestly, I desperately would love to do that. But until I figure out a more surefire way to do it, it'll just remain a dream. See how fast I ink this with this pen? And it looks fine. I can go in and beef up some of these holding lines here. Pretty easily. Now, yeah, if I was using a brush, I could just, do it in one stroke just by changing the pressure that's applying on the brush to get that thicker line if I wanted it. But man, not having to dip the brush and not having to clean it out, gosh, there's some real advantages to that. I'm just going to do kind of a silly, standard, retro Buck Rogers kind of ray gun here. Because honestly, Kit Carter is all about retro. It's really started out as kind of a, I don't want to say a joke, but sort of a tribute, humorous tribute to 50s sci-fi. Particularly the movies. And a little bit of the comics too, I suppose. The bubble helmet and all that kind of stuff was very EC comics feeling. So everything about the comic is retro. The funny thing is, those of us who appreciate this kind of stuff are quickly becoming dinosaurs, right? I mean, I was, as much as I love this kind of stuff, I'm not old enough to have experienced this stuff firsthand. I have, my experiences, were through old movies that I would watch on TV as a kid, or, my mom was really big into newspaper strips and adventure strips. And so I got a lot of that from her as well. But I didn't, EC Comics, I wasn't even born when that stuff was coming out, so I had to go back sort of retroactively and discover all of it. So even at my age, this stuff isn't really stuff from my past. In the sense that I experienced it when it came out. So I don't know how many people are still around that did actually experience this stuff when it came out in the 50s and are, comic book fans and, would appreciate the nostalgia. I don't know. And 20 years from now, holy crap, there won't be nostalgia will be, Image Comics. Let's see. Paul Brillard has dropped in. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. The Voyager 47 is here. Thank you for joining us. What did we say here? I got to figure out where I'm at here. Yeah, I do. That's because I did a 3-hour stream last night, and I'm not sick or anything. It's just voice injury, and I need water, and I didn't bring a glass of water with me, so you guys are going to have to suffer through my gravelly voice. Aviate Surge is here. Thank you for joining us. Zing the Merciless, son of Flab the Flatulent. Zing the Zealous, Randy. Come on, get it straight. Angry Gamer is here. Angela, are you not paying attention? What is the MERV card for? It will be an incentive giveaway to get you to sign up early for the next Wraith of God campaign. So if you do this during the sign up period, when you sign up for it and then you later order when the campaign goes live, you will get a MERV, the ASTRO-CHIMP card. Steven says, I think a whole Kit Carter book, in strip format with this every 7th one double-sized in color would be really charming and awesome. It would be. But again, that's kind of what I was just talking about. I don't know how many of us really would think it's that charming that they would have to have it. Kit Carter is like your Howard the Duck. It's true, but Howard existed in the regular Marvel U. I mean, he had just bizarre things going on, but there was a certain, like I talked about last night, the backup story in Giant Size Man Thing, number 5, where he fights the vampire cow. It's kind of absurd, but you set up the situation so that the vampire bites the cow, right? And so the cow then becomes a vampire within the Marvel universe. I mean, it's absurd, but at the same time, you're still walking that line. the whole tone of Kit Carter is it'd be like trying to combine, you know, Blazing Saddles with Once Upon a Time in the West. You know, you just couldn't do it. They're just completely different tonalities, you know. And wait a minute here now. Eric's saying, can't you create a completely new story that isn't a compilation of the Kit Carter strips? Perhaps I'm misunderstanding. I could, but I'm not going to yet because I want to finish the Kit Carter strips. It'd be kind of, and the thing with the Kit Carter strips is they're no different in tone than the comic book would be, right? They're just set up differently. So I want to finish the ones that I did first rather than just abandoning it. And finish that first story arc and then have that sort of lead into a new Kit Carter story that would be in a comic book format, I think. My mind changes daily on Kit Carter. It seems like it'd be very easy, but it's very difficult because of how I created the character. And when I started writing a script, a normal comic book script for the character, it became too, I don't know. It lost its irreverence and its fun a little bit. And I thought, well, what if I treat this kind of as a gag strip? And when I did that, it sort of came together and made sense to me creatively. Now that may change. We shall see. But I want to finish this first kind of story arc as a comic strip and then kind of go from there. I did, and I don't think it sold at all, but it was really cool. When Frank Cho reprinted Liberty Meadows, he did it sideways with 2 strips on each page, fit the regular comic size perfectly. Oh, now see, that's clever. My Kit Carter strips were more detailed. They're more like comic book pages. Than Frank's Liberty Meadows was more, his stuff is more open, and I think it reproduces smaller better because it's simpler design wise. Mine tends to be a little bit more illustrative, and you start shrinking it down too small and all the line work and stuff is going to break up. So there are, there's several considerations and all that. And Cho quit his series because the reward was not equal to the effort. Again, that's true. That's why all I can do is smile when people say my collected stat strips would sell. I'm afraid the reality is quite different. Same for Graham's Sunshine State. No, it is true. They won't sell. There is always a small group, an intense small group that loves that stuff and would support it, but it won't give you the big numbers that you need to do it regularly and support it. That audience doesn't exist anymore on a big enough scale. So if you want to do stuff like that, it has to be sort of, as a kind of gimmicky. And that's kind of what the first Kit Carter strips are, is they're gimmicky. And I'm not going to say I'm going to continue to do it that way, but I am going to, like I said, finish up what I've started and then kind of move on from there. Now for the, well, hang on a second. In the name of efficiency, I'm not going to do the hair on the monkey with a brush. I'm going to use Copic markers to color this black area in, simply because it's faster. And as far as I found, the ink in the Copic markers is actually quite good and reliable. I know there's been some discussion by some other artists who use watercolors that really, it may be more of them trying to push what they do more than actually have definitive proof that these will fade over time. But I have not, I've got sketches done in these things are over 20 years old that have not faded a bit in 20 years. So I have no reason to believe that they will fade because they're supposed to be permanent markers. And the black on them is very flat and nice. So, you know. Now, the only thing that's a little bit handier if I was using a brush is I could feather out of this black with the brush, which I'm not going to be able to do with this marker. I'm going to have to go back in with a thinner marker and create the feathering lines. But it'll still look, you know, just as good. But I sell a lot of my original art, as most of you guys know. And I want people, you know, I don't want them to get a piece of artwork that's going to be, you know, 30 years from now is going to fade. Now, that did happen with the old Sharpies that people might have used, you know, in the early 90s or late 80s. You know, they sort of fade and turn purple and all that kind of stuff. But it's my understanding that they've solved that problem and that the new Sharpies don't do that. But I wouldn't use a Sharpie for that. Although I did buy and spent, you know, like $300 on a Rudy Nebre's piece sketch. It was really cool, but he did it all in Sharpies. And the funny thing is, you look at it, it looks like it was done with a brush, which is, you know, what he used to use all the time. However, when I took the piece of artwork out of the portfolio and actually smelled it, you could smell the Sharpie smell on it. So I knew that it was Sharpies. But it looks great, and you know, that's how he's doing his work now. And when I saw him last, this was several years ago, he didn't have. I would have liked to have got a John Buscema Conan page that he inked, which I can still do. I mean, they're out there, but he didn't have any. So I was looking through his, you know, sketches and found one that I really liked, and so I pulled the trigger on it. And of course, I don't have it up hanging on my wall so it can get exposed to a bunch of sunlight, which is always the bugaboo, right? The potential fading of your color in your artwork or your line work due to UV exposure. So I mean, there, you know, it's in a portfolio in a flat file, and I just take it out and look at it whenever. So maybe that's part of the reason why those haven't faded, but like I said, these markers are not supposed to fade. They're supposed to be archival ink. So I'm going to trust that they're telling me the truth. If it was the government telling me that, I would not trust it. But since it's not the government, and these are people selling product, and if they were lying about it, eventually people are going to start complaining, and you're going to lose business, and you're going to be out of business. So I'm going to assume they're telling me the truth. Which I know is always dangerous to assume anybody's telling you the truth, but I'm a lot more cynical than I used to be when I was younger. But life has made me a cynic. So I embrace my cynicism. But my old nature still wants to trust people. And so I do, probably way more often than I should. Danky Frankie recognizes that it's a space monkey. That's MERV the ASTRO-CHIMP. Of course. Oh, yeah. I love Walt Kelly. Love his stuff. Hi, Aaron. Is there a Dale Keown bloody cover available somewhere? A secret, maybe? I messaged you. Oh, you know what? Gosh darn it. I was going to email you back. I'm sorry I forgot. I've been really going about a million different directions recently, and I apologize for that. There is not, because I don't want the overly bloody cover on my comic. Even though my comic is fairly violent, it just, I don't know. But I am I'm looking at two things for the next campaign. One, the t-shirt, do the werewolf t-shirt with the bloody version, and then also blacklight poster. So I may do one or both of those, and then I'll definitely do one or possibly both in the next campaign. So I apologize for not getting back to you. I know that you messaged me about that, and I kept meaning to get back to you, and other things came up and I kept forgetting. So I apologize, but there's the answer to your question. No. Hey, MERV the ASTRO-CHIMP outdates NFTs, okay? So I'm actually the trendsetter here. Dan Lawless says, thanks, Dan, for dropping in. I hate the strips printed sideways in comics. They're way too awkward to hold and read. Yeah, I agree. So if you printed them, the other way across the page, they'd be really tiny. So it's just like, it's crazy, man. Look at Dave. He's promoting the use of a Sharpie. I can't talk about secrets because the loose ships do sink ships, and I don't want to sink my own ship by revealing too many secrets. We're from the government, and those markers are archival grade, erasable, of course. Oh, look. Shelley's in the chat. Hey, honey. Well, hey, honey, to you, too. You know what? I was thinking that when I was doing this, and I didn't say it because I thought, well, I don't want to be insulting. Yeah, he's got Phil's hair. Oh my gosh, that's funny. He means thick and luscious, of course. Oh, well, Phil kind of has that Wolverine sort of look, doesn't he? Why not? So, oh, that's funny. So, Phil, if you happen to be tuning in, it's all just good-natured fun. We love you. So Dan Lawless expressed some interest in coloring my Garbage Man story, the backup story, and I think I'm going to take him up on that if he was serious. We haven't talked about it yet, Dan, but that's because we're still way out there. But of course, I'm going to have our man Gabe LTAbe will do the Wraith of God story again. But just for the sake of, making stuff look a little bit different, I would enjoy having Dan Lawless color one of these stories for me. And Dan, of course, has a cover for Two-Fisted Manly Tales for Graham Nolan. David Williams, of course, is in the chat. He and Gabe are doing a really cool book called Truth, Justice, American Way. And that's on Indiegogo right now, in demand. And I would urge you guys to support that book because I really think it's going to be good. I have a great deal of faith in David's talents, and I'm a big fan. And I think you're going to get a really great looking project. But also, I am privy to certain story ideas that I can't share with you that I think are just terrific. So if you kind of want sort of a more of a traditional feeling, superhero comic, because you're dissatisfied from what the big two are offering, Truth, Justice, American Way will be the thing for you. And I can't overstate the collectability of these books, because even the ones that are considered more successful, say like my book has been considered to be fairly successful, as we've raised almost $145,000. The print run on my book is still tiny compared to a Marvel or DC book. Because my print run on the book is going to be about 3,500 copies, which sounds like a lot for the indie market, which in some ways it is, but it's really not that much in the big picture. And the Keown cover is only going to be 400 copies. The Esther cover is like 500 and some copies. Even the cover that's going to be the most produced, which is my version, the regular version with the Wraith on the horse, that's still like less than 1,700 print run on that particular cover. So the interesting thing about this, and I know a lot of people are readers and they're not collectors, and I get that, but ignoring the potential collectability of these things is do it at your own peril. Because the problem is with this stuff is you can always say, well, I'll wait, I can pick one up later, and you probably can to a certain extent. But if something gets steamrolling and suddenly it's sold out, I mean, that's it. It's not like I can go easily pick up a copy of Amazing Spider-Man because I missed it this month when it came out or whatever. These books are rare and will be rare, and if they get more popular than some of them already are, then they become in demand, and then you really can't get them. So, or at least at a reasonable price. So that's why it's always smart to back these campaigns early, so you're getting the best price on the book and ensuring that you get a copy. And that's my sales pitch for today. Not big on self-promotion. I don't do it very well, and I don't like talking about myself and my products because it seems so self-serving, which is exactly the point. But anyway. But there are some good indie products out there like we have never seen before, and some of them are the quality like we've never seen before. Not since maybe the 80s when First Comics and Pacific Comics and some of these other people were directly competing with Marvel and DC, and we're getting name talent like Chaykin and Wrightson and Mike Grell, Dave Stevens, and other people like this to contribute to the product, and having that sort of quality of work associated with your line always helps legitimize it. And Dark Horse, of course, did a good job of that as well back in the old days. You know, Chris Warner is a terrific artist. And he was doing a lot of their covers and stuff for them. Of course, Paul Chadwick's Concrete and other things that they had going on. But I think the cool thing is, although we're sort of competing with Marvel and DC, we're not really competing with Marvel and DC. We're sort of trying to fill a gap or a void that they've created by their poor choices recently. Or I should say what I deem to be poor choices. I guess some people like what they're doing, and that's fine. But it was not for me anymore. And that's hard to kind of accept that, because, you know, like many of you, I grew up comic books fan, you know, loved them, but, you know, and that's why I got into comics. It's because of my love for the medium and, you know, how much I enjoyed them as a kid. But, you know, when they change to a point where they no longer represent what you got into them for, and they become something totally different, it's like you can't just turn a blind eye and go and pretend that there's something that they're not anymore. And so, so here we have a lot of us doing what we wish we were doing at, you know, or had, you know, wanted to do at Marvel and DC, but now we're doing it on our own terms, which is actually better. I can't even imagine, you know, not working on my own projects now after. And it's a pain, you know, all the extra stuff is a pain, you know, that we as artists generally don't enjoy creating more pain for ourselves than necessary. You know, having to be the publisher and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to just being the creative person, but it's still very rewarding, and it's worth it, you know. I think I'm going to do the beer label like in Photoshop or something, so I can manipulate the type. The Leper Colony says, so far your campaign is at the top of my faves. I plan to back a second load. Just found a good gerb finally. It's found a good gerb. Gerb, what does that mean? But thank you. Thank you very much. Yankee says, I've got a house full of comics. I'm going digital on everything that isn't CG. Never thought I'd say that. Oh my goodness. You know, I wonder how long we can sustain this sort of nostalgic addiction to paper when everything seems to want to continue to go digital, right? But I'm going to hang on to it as long as I can. Just like, I mean, there's a bunch of artists now that are, you know, guys, new age of art. Everybody's doing their stuff digitally, and I just can't bring myself to do it. I love having an original piece of artwork. You know, if I was doing this digitally, yeah, it'd be probably faster and more efficient, but I would have no art when I was done. And, you know, as long as there's art collectors out there, and I'll be honest, I'm an art collector myself, you know, we like to have this stuff and to hang on to it and hold it and say, yeah, this is the piece that, you know, appeared in this, you know, and I just don't want to lose that. And I don't want to lose the, you know, the paper comics either, but I think eventually we're going to.
Phil's in the chat.
Oh.
Might want to thank him for the inspiration for the hair.
Oh, well, I was wondering if he heard that the Phil's hair we used on. I wasn't the one who started that comment. Someone else did. I just agreed with it because I thought it was funny, but it is true.
It's got the sideburns and the chops and everything.
Yep. As I said, Phil's kind of got that Wolverine look, you know? Shelley says, we'll start fulfillment right away. Take a small break from my surgery, then back at it.
Well, I'll take a break. You're still
Yeah, I won't be
day.
taking a break. I'll be taking a break to get you like food and stuff, and then getting back to fulfilling. Oh, see how that big jump?
Yeah.
Shelley, you can supervise for a while you rest up. Keep Sammy and Aaron on their toes. Yeah, hopefully it can somehow convince my daughter. I assume it's going to take money to get her to help. Merv needs pizza, Galactic Luigi's. See, Paul's a guy who actually has read the strips. He knows the jokes.
He knows this stuff.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. He does. He eats. There's a joke in one of the strips where he says, I got to quit eating pizza and drinking beer for breakfast. So
ooh, it's breakfast of champions.
That's right. And so Paul knows his Kit Carter.
Nice.
Collector Express, good evening. My goodness, where are you at? Well, I guess you could be on the East Coast. It'd be 5 o'clock, wouldn't it? Okay. It is a little late. It's almost 2.
I know.
There he is.
Yep.
There he is, the man who inspired the hair for Merv the ASTRO-CHIMP. Phil Diaz. Love you, Phil. Just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding, but
it's a compliment.
It is. I wish I had your hair.
Somebody still has hair.
Right? I would give anything to have your hair. There you go. And those originals are worth bucks. They are. Some of them are. They're like comics.
We've got flat files upon flat
Well, he's not talking about my art.
But we can only hope.
Look at that. Red Wizard says, Wraith was the first CG campaign I backed. Had me hooked the first time I saw the trailer. Well, thank you so much for that. I hope you will love the book and it'll really get a fire lit under you for the next one. There you go. Tarks is old-fashioned. Refuse to buy digital books. Physical copies only.
Oh, yeah. Brian sent me old. Hi.
Paper has to remain in some form for certain reasons. It's natural for us to desire the tangible feeling of holding the book in our hands. I agree, but does everybody else agree? We should go hemp parchment, save trees, harvest shrubs. Everybody would smoke their books, though. Everybody'd smoke their books, though. So then what would you do?
Twice.
Yeah. Let's see. Dan defending digital comics. I created a digital children's book for my niece, zero interest. She wanted a paper book that she could hold. I don't think paper is going away. I hope you're right, Dan, even though you work digitally. So, oh, look at that. He says, I went to my 10-year high school reunion the other day. Shelley and I were
such a baby.
Shelley and I were engaged when we went to our 10-year reunions.
No, were we?
Yes.
Yours.
Yeah. Well, we were married by the time yours rolled
Right.
on because you're a couple of years younger than me. But yeah, you actually helped with us putting on our 10-year.
Yep. And then I did karaoke after a few too many beverages. Never again.
Oh God, that's right. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have video of that.
Oh no.
A smokable book beats edible underpants any day of the week. Yeah, well, we have hoarder problems too. We just filled up our 3rd dumpster in the last probably 5 years, 7 years.
Yeah. That's bad.
It's getting better though. We keep filling up dumpsters. Marcus Killigrew, he's old school.
Yep.
You wish there was a karaoke.
Oh, it was so bad. Oh my gosh.
Well, we had the Friday night thing where we all got together, classmates only.
Yes.
So we could all reconnect, right? And that was fun. And then we did a thing. The next night we had a dinner at the Hilton or someplace where we rented a ballroom and we did have a karaoke up there.
Yeah.
After the dinner and after.
I can't remember. Did we sing Elvis or something? I don't even remember.
I remember you and
So
Shelby
bad.
were up there doing leg kicks or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were in like mini skirts and they're up there doing leg kicks. It was like
gave quite a show.
Oh my gosh. How come you don't have members join for this channel?
I was thinking about that too.
I don't really understand how it works, but once I take the time to actually figure it out, I will do it. But I don't really understand.
I'll try to do it this week.
Shelly's she's supposed to be my online helper, so she has to figure all this stuff out.
I'm the brainiac.
Yep.
Well, let's see. I was supposed to go to work today, but I didn't.
Puppet karaoke.
I gotta clean out my classroom and then I'll be done.
There you go, Joe. I'm the same way. Draw it on paper, scan it in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my phone's going off.
I believe paper makes it one of a kind. The chance for hackers lowers digital value. There you go. That's what I say. I'm not the best letterer. Sometimes I'm okay, and then sometimes not okay. And I kind of want this to bend around the beer can, the lettering, so I'm going to do it digitally. Think about the collector's value of 80% of the market smokes your book, and the reprint market also. You could get smoke shops carrying your book. Oh, that's genius. Past Master Dan says the greatest issue I have with drawing digital is the fact I'm aware of the gap between the pen tip and the surface. Yeah, a lot of people are don't they have pads now that you can just draw on the pad like you would draw on a piece of paper? Like I said, I'm not really all that privy to that stuff. I was reading chats and not drawing, so I know I'm back to drawing again, although I'm almost done. So I will do the sky back here will be space. And I think I will drop in MERV and Kit's spaceship in the background. Although I would have to pull reference for it because it's been a while since I've drawn it. And I don't know where the artwork is buried in the flat file, so I can't pull it right this second. But I do want to let you guys know of a little special trick. It's not a special trick, but it's enlargement for dummies. If you have one of those, there's like you have these little wheels, little plastic discs that you can put in the measurements of, say, what you want your finished product to be, and then set it for what you want your original art sized up, and it'll tell you the exact
proportions.
Yeah, proportions and exact inches and how big to make it so that it reduces and expands to the size you want. However, I can't find my wheel because I haven't cleaned my studio.
Uh-oh.
So I did this the old-fashioned way. Now, if you'll look, you can see some blue line on here. Okay. Now, see that right there? That's the outline of what the finished card size would be. So if this is the corner of my original art right here, and then there's the corner of what the card would be when it's shrunk down, its final print size. So if I take a line and I draw it through those 2 points, and then I have this diagonal line that just keeps going to infinity, right? So what I can do now is I have established the bottom and the side of the card are going to be the bottom and the side of my original art. So I extend those lines all the way up, and this one as far out as I want. Then I draw a straight line up, and when it crosses this diagonal line, that I know it's the right size for reproduction. And the same with here. When this top line meets this point right here, and those two meet, and that third line meets right there, then I know it's in proper proportion. And then I can expand it and make it as big as I want it. In this case, it's this big, but however big this is. So if I just draw the border here around here, when I shrink it down, it'll be exactly the same size as the card I want it to be. So that's a nifty way to do that if you can't find your little proportion disc, which I can't because I know it's around here someplace, but in this mess, that's saying a lot. Ooh, I made a mistake.
Uh-oh.
Well, not maybe. This beer fizz would actually cross in front of that antenna, so I'm going to have to wait that out right there. Let's do it live. Let me take the Presto pen stick that was recommended to me by David Williams. Get a little flow going, and then just so they have this, and boom. There we go. And then once it's dry, go around it like that, and like that. And there it is. And I solved that problem. So I'm really thinking, I mean, seriously thinking of, I mean, really seriously thinking of having my next comic, all the lettering done on the board instead of digitally. Now it does present a pain in the butt because I basically, before I can ink the pages, I have to get them all together and I have to send the pages to whoever would be doing the lettering. And I have to make sure my script is finalized because once he puts the lettering on the board, if I want to change it, I got to go, do paste up over the top of it, which is not cool. Or at least I don't want it to be cool. I mean, no, I don't think it is cool, and I don't want it to happen. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But so I am seriously considering it. What I'd really like to do is do the lettering myself, and that way I can just do it here. But I've never done lettering before. I've done special effects lettering, like sound effects lettering in my comics. I do that all the time. But actually lettering a book, I don't know if my lettering is good enough. But I may experiment with it a little bit. If you recall, Space Bear, we should have like a little spaceship up here zipping around. Some sort of, I don't know, label or something here. I don't know. But if you recall, oh my gosh, Shelley is piling her crap on top of my original artwork. The complete level of disrespect is shocking, quite frankly. No, I don't even know where that page is at now. I can't find anything. I'm looking for something. Looking, can't find. Do I flip this over? Oh, it's right here. Ah, what an idiot. Okay. Yeah, so like ACK. I did that freehand. But that to me is like special effects lettering. I mean, it's obviously not what you would use for regular balloon lettering. And there's no other dialogue on this page. But, I worked in the title, Night of the Living Jed, right there. So, but as we look at this page, when I get this finished penciling this, obviously I want to jump in and start inking. But I can't really do that if I'm going to, do the word balloons because it would be, well, let's see. And maybe I'd put a balloon here, all right? Oops. Put a balloon right here. Okay. And then here, maybe I'd probably drop one in here, right? And this is just a sound effect lettering. Okay. And then he's got another balloon here, like that. So I'd get this whole thing penciled, and then I'd send this to the letterer. Obviously I'm not going to send it to him one page at a time, but I'd send it to the letterer. He would letter it, send it back to me, then I would ink it and scan it. But man, I really want to do it. I just don't want the hassle of shipping pages back and forth. And I'm really notorious for making script changes like 3 and 4 times. And can you imagine? I get the thing lettered, then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to change this to that. And then you're like, ugh. So I've really got to be sure that my script is what I want it to be before I do this. But I am thinking about it because it would be so cool to have like the lettering on the page. It seems like extra work and extra hassle. And I hate extra hassle. I hate hassle in period, but I hate extra hassle. Oh, cue the dog. I dropped a pencil and he thinks I'm downstairs. He thinks someone is trying to break in. It's unbelievable. Anyway, okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to do, I'm going to fill this in with black. Shut that dog up. I'm going to fill this in with black and do some stars with a toothbrush because I really am old school. And that'll be the card. So you got to see, and we'll put the space there. I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's completely done. Moleskin makes a digitizer pen and sketchbook set that captures your physical strokes and sends them to your phone or PC. See, that's just like French to me. I don't even know what you just said. Vic says, your handwriting is very good. I can draw things good, but my writing looks like Arabic. I used to be the worst. I'm going to go strangle our dog. All because I dropped a pencil upstairs. And he's downstairs barking at the front door. It's just chaos. I was terrible at special effects, or not special effects, but effects lettering. Terrible. And I finally, when I was in a studio in the 90s with Terry Dodson and, a ton of other people, but Terry was particularly good at lettering. And so I'd see him do like lettering and stuff. And I was like, so jealous. I was like, I need to get better at my lettering. And so I really, really practiced. And now I do a pretty good job, I think, of special effects lettering. But I've never really tried to tackle word balloon lettering. And I have to get out my old Ames lettering guide. How's that for a trip through memory lane? And, but I'm going to try it myself. And if I can do it and it looks good or looks good enough, I'm going to do it myself. If I can't, we'll explore other options. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know who Hasselhoff is, but I must have missed something in the conversation. Lewis says, oh, sure, last second live draw when I'm out of the office taking the dad to the doctor. Well, I know. It's hard to accommodate everybody, isn't it?
Well, then you could just stream 24/7.
That's
like
true.
They do with those puppies, and they get thousands of people watching.
That's right. I'll just lay in front of the camera and sleep and stream and draw every once in a while. Thank you.
Isn't that what you do anyway?
Pretty much. Joe says the pencils for the page are very Wrightson. Well, thank you, sir. You know what? Let's take another look.
Shall we?
That's pretty Wrightson-y. I find it really sort of interesting that when I do monsters, the Wrightson stuff is just so obvious, the Wrightson influence. But when I don't, you'd never know.
Never.
I'm a chameleon, I guess.
I'm a chameleon.
Aaron, do you ever accidentally smudge your ink? When don't I? I do. Oh my gosh. It is so frustrating. It pisses me off so much when I do that. But I do sometimes drag my hand through when I'm inking wet ink. Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started. Yes, I do. And then whiteout becomes my best friend. See, look at that. Lovely. A lot of people do. And Walter Simonson still does it on his like Ragnarok books and stuff. He still has John Workman does his lettering on the board, on the original art. The problem with Walter's stuff is he keeps it all for himself, so we never get to see it. I think I'm going to do it. Marcus Killigrew, I have an extra Ames guide. I'm pretty sure I have one around here someplace. Again, cleaning is so essential to finding stuff. And my studio is unbelievably wrecked at the moment. There you go. Do a dream sequence where it's all. Well, I'll tell you something. I'm not gonna mention any names because but I did a story where there was a lot of effects lettering in it, and I wasn't very good at it, and I didn't want to do the effects lettering. I did like my own crappy version in the pencils, with the intent that the letterer would use that as just a placement guide, right, to give him an idea of what I was going for and how it would fit. And instead of redoing the lettering so it looked good, this letterer just went in and inked my crappy lettering. And I was so mad because it looked like crap. And I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, so anyway, communication's key. Communication, my friends, is key. Do the lettering and add the bubbles later, or make the bubbles digital. Well, you always do the lettering first and then you draw your bubble around it. But I see what you're saying. But either way, you're going to be doing paste up if you have to make a correction. The guy looks like a Warwick Davis leprechaun. Are we talking about MERV? I assume so, because you can't be talking about Garbage Man. Oh, someone's texting me. People are always texting me. When I'm doing shows, they never text me when I'm not doing shows. Oh, look at this. Dan's defending himself now. Because I was kind of pointing out the fact that he's a digital dude. I'm doing the job I'm working on now. Traditional. Digital took me too long. Okay. Well, look at that. So he's not saving time working digitally. Collector Express says I'm a graphic designer, and I always enjoy when one of my projects are printed publication over digital only. Yeah, there is something cool about it. I don't think we can get away from that. But I do think you go into the future and like all of our kids, I don't think my daughter, for example, has any sort of appreciation for printed material because she didn't grow up with it. She grew up with everything digital, right? So I don't know that, she would just as soon read a book digitally than as she would, it's not that she doesn't have books, but I just don't think that she would have the same connection there. Who would you say your inking style is most influenced by? By the way, you inked and drew it in half the time it took Andy to draw his layout for Gambit. Well, what can I say, folks? Well, I trained under Gary Martin. And so I originally inked very much like Gary. But when I was really 100% brush, I used, guys like Mark Farmer and Gary, and those are guys that I thought, Boland were guys that really, but I also looked a lot at how Wrightson inked, which is very different than those guys because they're control inkers, and Wrightson was very much an aesthetic inker, maybe would be a way of putting that. And they had their technique for inking was almost opposite of each other. And, of course, Frazetta, who's a looser inker. And then in recent years, Danny Mickey is a guy that's really, I really looked at because he did pen inking. And I discussed this a little bit last night on the live stream I did. He adds kind of a chunkiness to the, I don't know why I'm drawing right now, but I'm going to. He adds some sort of a chunkiness to the line quality so that you get this sort of, actually, let me see if I can find that. Hang on with me for a second here. Oh, it's right here. if you haven't seen this piece, it'll be prepared to have your mind blown. So I did this Garbage Man pinup and had Danny Mickey ink it. And it's in the Garbage Man trade paperback, in black and white, and in color. So much like the Dale Keown werewolf piece, which is on the cover in color, but inside the book it's black and white. I want you guys to be able to see both. Okay, so this is Danny Mickey inks. Okay, now he inks with a pen. Let that focus. But do you see that sort of what I'm talking about when I say sort of a rougher or chunky style? You know, look at the bumpiness. You know, the line work is right on, but the broken line quality here, this actually looks a little Wrightsony right in here. And this dry brush is very Wrightsony looking. But let me move that up here. If you can see, let me see how close I can get in this before it won't focus anymore. That's really nice. Wow, this is a great camera. Look at the broken line quality that he's using. And look at the look at that, like that bump right there, that glop right there. And there's one right there. What it does is it creates a feel like a rough pencil drawing. So that life and energy that you get in your pencils, when you go in there with a brush and are super slick, you lose that life. It becomes something different. Now you can have an appreciation for the control and the quality, you know, like a Gary Martin piece or Brian Boland, you know, and Killing Joke. It's just masterful, but it's so slick and it's so hard. This is so rough and it just feels like it's sketchy, you know, and it still has that energy that was there in the pencils. I mean, Danny just went freaking nuts on this. This guy, Danny Mickey, if you've never met him, he's like so high energy. He's like revved up all the time. And it's like, it shows in his inking, you know. But again, look at this line here. Look at how rough and bumpy that is. You know, and how where he breaks lines, you know. And that helps create that sort of energy that's there in the pencils. And I just think it looks fantastic. And so he's been a major influence on my approach. And I don't sit there and honestly, I don't look at people's, you know, how they do things very often. I kind of look at them generalized and say, oh yeah, that's rougher, so I'm going to make my line rougher. But I don't really break it down and look at it super closely and try and copy exactly what they're doing. But, you know, the broken line stuff again right here, I just think that looks really, really cool. And I did a video actually on this particular piece of artwork. And now it's going to take forever. Husker, shut up. So anyway, I did a video on this. It's on part of the stuff on my channel, my YouTube channel as a saved video. There's two sections in there. If you look, there's like live stream videos and then like prepared videos. I can't remember exactly what the category is that they're called, but I did a video of this kind of examining this a little bit that some of you might find interesting and or minorly insightful. It's worth checking out. But anyway, this is a killer piece of artwork. And I'm not just saying that because I drew it. I'm saying it because Danny Mickey inked it. And it looks really, really freaking cool. And the original pencil for this was highly detailed. But he just went like, look, all this broken white line stuff in here inside the moss and the shadow. He added all that. You know, and yeah, look at Look at this in the shadow area right here, how this is kind of all cross-hatched in gray, and then this is solid black, but this is, can we get in there really, really tight? This kind of stuff in here, it's kind of got a very sort of Barry Windsor Smith kind of Conan feel to it. This kind of stuff right in here does as well. And this is a crow quill, like a dipping pen that you dip in ink. And, you know, I've done that a little bit of that, but I never really got the hang of it. So I'm better off with these kind of marker pens. But that's just, you know, geez. I mean, I can't even tell you how cool. I mean, obviously, you can see for yourself how cool that is. Just reading some of your comments, sorry. Yeah, Stephen Rockwood apparently has a Garbage Man trade. Yeah, it is small. And that's the thing, though. You know, and I put color on this. Obviously, I colored the piece. And, you know, I don't use a lot of dark saturated colors. So I tend not to cover up the line work, but it still gets lost a little bit. It's just such a great black and white piece. And it's one you have to sort of appreciate. You can really appreciate it full size, whereas when it gets reduced down, you're losing some of it, of that. But that's just really, really cool. So yeah, so Mickey is a guy that's influenced me greatly recently. But so I try to mix what I get from him with the Wrights and influence, the Frazetta influence, and you know, the things I picked up from Gary and others. You know, so it's just really, it's a combination of many things that sort of, oh, wait a minute. Peyton getting in here. Did I miss anything important? No, the answer is no. No, here's your answer, Peyton. Thanks, Kevin, for coming in late. We do appreciate you being here. Aaron, what are some good Western comics to look at? I'm working on a Western. You know, the guy that John Severin did a lot of stuff. If you look at, there was a series Marvel did in the 70s called Western Gunfighters. I have a lot of those issues. Ghost Rider. It's tough to get those comics. Obviously, you guys could probably look them up online, though. But if you look at the Dick Ayers did some pretty good stuff. Severin's stuff is the stuff that comes to mind the most, though, the Western stuff. So if you're looking like the Black Rider, because that was in the 50s. But Western Gunfighters was a Marvel series that you might take a look at if you can find it digitally online, or some interiors and stuff like this. They did a lot of that was reprinted material from older comics. John Severin did some work in. Dick Ayers did some work in. Red Wolf, 70s title that Severin and Sid Shores worked on. There was some pretty good stuff. Frazetta did a lot of Western comics. And when I say a lot, that's relative, because Frazetta didn't do a lot of comics, period. But you know, and then I watched a lot of like spaghetti westerns, Clint Eastwood westerns, you know, and used photo reference from a lot of that stuff. You know, if I was looking at looking for a town or something, I would I'd pull up you know, like the year my story takes place is 1883. And so I would look up a, you know, I don't know, Kansas City, Missouri, 1883, you know, or Tombstone, Arizona, 1883, things like that, and look at these old Western towns, not the Hollywoodized version, but what they actually look like, and then sort of use those as guideposts for what I was doing in Wraith of God. So I used a lot of practical photo reference, and not so much the Western comics, although there's some good ones. You know, Two Gun Kid. There's a lot of gun hawks in the 70s. You know, Gil Kane did a lot of really kind of cool Western covers for those comics in the 70s. And I don't know how authentic they were in terms of costuming and guns and things like that, but the Gil Kane layouts are always so good, and it makes you think of, you know, different and better ways to put together a cover that is going to sell and that people want to have. The cover B option on my Wraith of God campaign, let me show this really quick. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this, but since we're using it, I'll do it real quick as a reference. Okay, so here's my Wraith of God campaign. There's the Keown cover, my regular cover. Okay, now here's my 70s cover, and this is Marvel 70s cover. This is basically a Gil Kane cover, right? I mean, it's not one, I didn't swipe anything because I don't do that generally without a particular without a particular purpose in mind. But it's inspired by Kane, and he did a lot of these. Oh my gosh, he does a lot of Western covers that actually give you some really good ideas for stuff. I know you're a writer, Phil, but it was still, you know, stuff you can pass on to whoever's drawing the book. And what I did here compositionally wise, there's an Iron Man cover that has this girl in the foreground that this, you know, sort of is based on that concept here, but you'll notice this sort of circular thing I got going here that keeps your eye right in the center of the action, right here. So that's how I designed this cover, so that it would, you know, keep you right here where I want your eyes moving around this, you know. Coloring is very simple because I didn't want it to be distracting, and I wanted it to be, you know, reminiscent of a comic book in the 70s. So Esther's garment, you know, I typed in a Google search for 1883 women's dresses or women's fashion, things like that, and, you know, stuff comes up. But those are kind of the different references that I would have pulled to use on Wraith of God. Oh, I'm not worried. There's plenty of Westerns. You know, there's so many werewolf comics and Western comics right now that it's like, you know, everybody's doing their own thing. So that's cool. There you go, Micra. Appreciate that, man. You know, I like this, so I'm going to do something similar to this in the next campaign. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to wait and see. But it actually might be a cover swipe homage after I just said I don't do them, but I've got a particular reason for doing this. And so you keep your eyes open for that. More garter belts. Anyway, so when I've got you the campaign, we're what's going to happen here is as soon as I start shipping, probably a week after I start fulfilling, I'm going to end this campaign because I want some of the books to be out there prior to closing it, so that if people say, "Oh my gosh, I got to get one of those," they'll still have an opportunity to do it before I shut it down completely. So it's only going to be open for a couple more weeks, but we got 2,510 backers right now, which is just nuts. Fantastic. I couldn't be happier and more pleased and thankful for you guys supporting the project. Real quickly, these are the perks that we have still available. Is the 3-pack, which is all 3 covers plus the limited edition print signed and numbered by me, and all the books come signed. Now, not all the books are signed in this campaign. If you bought just a single issue like this, like cover A here, it's these aren't signed. Only the multi-pack books are signed. But anyway, we have shot glasses still available right there. We have beanies still available. I actually still have t-shirts which feature this design on them. I don't know, did I take the t-shirt thing down? I probably did, because they're not part of the campaign anymore. But I do still have extras in large, extra large, and 2X. But anyway, here's there's the trading card that everybody gets if you signed up early. And I want to implore everyone watching right now, if you signed up for this campaign, early sign up, and used a different email address to order, I need to know that, because I have to cross-reference. I didn't do a very good job of planning this out. So I have to cross-reference the email address for the early sign up with the people that actually ordered. And your name isn't on the early sign up. It's just your email address. So if you used a different email address to order than what you signed up with, they're not going to cross-reference. And I will think that you signed up but didn't order. And then I won't send you a card. I won't be able to send you a card because anyway. So if you signed up with a different email address than you ordered with, let me know, please, so I can make sure you get this card. These are also for sale. Those of you guys that came in late, they're like $5 a piece. This is the limited edition signed and numbered print. That's limited to 400 copies, and that was it. So there's a few of those left. This is the Esther card that everybody gets. This is the Wraith of God, Ace of Spades playing card that everybody gets. So these are part of the stretch goal stuff. This is on the inside of the book, because this was a stretch goal, but people wanted me to turn it into a cover, so I got it colored and turned it into a cover. But this actual black and white image appears inside the book, so you don't have to buy the Dale Keown cover to get the Dale Keown image, because it was originally promised as a stretch goal, and I'm a man of my word. Then we've got some pages on the inside, colored by our own Gabe LTA. Again, the beanie and shot glass, laserette shot glass, are still available on Perks. These are the 3 covers: the Esther cover by me, the 70s Marvel cover by me, and the regular edition cover, of course, by me. So, and then of course the Dale version, and this is a version cover. It will not have any type on it at all. It's just this image, because it wasn't originally designed to be a cover, so he didn't really leave enough room for a balloon or a logo placement, and I didn't want to cover up any of his art, so it's just a virgin cover. So it looks just like that with no type on it. And that is also still available. Right there it is. So if you wanted a Garbage Man trade paperback and didn't get one, I sent out a bunch of updates that have a link in there so that you can actually order the Garbage Man trade paperback separately and add it onto your order with just like a $3 shipping charge is all. So those are still available, and I'll include that in the next update I do, just for people that want to grab a copy. Same with Power Cubed. I do have a few copies of those left as well that I can make available to you guys to add on to your order if you're so inclined. But anyway, that's the campaign. Geek Avenger, my day off and I'm late. I know. We've been going for almost 2 hours, which is usually I do these for about an hour and that's it. But Tarks9, great work, Aaron. Ordered all the covers. Thank you so much, Tarks. I really appreciate it. But yeah, we started talking about art. And, you get me talking and it just goes on and on and on. So anyway, this is what we did today. We inked MERV. So if you want to see me ink this drawing, rewind this when we shut her down. I'm going to do that right now. You're way late, Sheldon. Way late. Okay. Anyway, again, let me say if the link to the Wraith of God campaign is in the description of this video. check out Zaid Comics. They've got the CGC, the CG Vacation book, which is basically a swimsuit spectacular like Marvel used to do back in the day. I'll be contributing a piece to that as well. And we've seen Brohawk Williams in the chat. He's got Truth, Justice, American Way with Gabe LTA, also on Indiegogo. So check out, I don't have the links in here because I wasn't prepared for that, but please check out those campaigns if you get a chance, along with a lot of other great campaigns that are on Indiegogo. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And Peyton, he's got to get it on the way out the door. So there it is. I'll be on Comicsgate Kings tonight, and then there'll be the Professionals on Tuesday. So I'll be around, and I'll be doing more of these live streams because I've got art to do again, and for the next campaign. So I'll share as much of it as I can with all of you. So this is to prove to you that I'm still here. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I know you guys, got things to do, and I appreciate you taking some time out to join me on this, and we'll do it again real soon. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon.